Hello everyone, it is Mr. Eager to get into 2025 here, today talking about my favorite thing to talk about, which is upcoming releases for Darktide, upcoming updates, because I firmly believe that there is something that players can do to contribute and steer the game in a better direction. And I have proof of that right in front of me here, which is the update history of Darktide, all the way from the release patch to current day with the release of the Grim Protocols, aka Havoc, and the other things that came with Havoc. There is a lot of evidence in here to support the idea that Fat Shark is listening to what we say. I know a lot of players can get very, very pessimistic about this and say, oh my god, they just do whatever they want. They're just doing their things in their own time. Nobody asked for Havoc, yada, yada, yada. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that for certain, Fat Shark has a bit of a Martin Scorsese, like, one for them, one for us sort of thing, or sometimes they'll release an update and we'll all go, who is asking for this? Can you please fix crafting? But then other times they'll fix crafting. And that's definitely something that players have been demanding since the beginning. So going way back here, you can see that the game released in the very last day of November 2022. And within a month, they were already fixing a little bit about crafting. They were unsure where they wanted to go with this, obviously, but players were very, very adamant about that crafting was in a bad state, and the way you acquired weapons was in a bad state. They were also demanding that this the premium currency and the premium shop be scaled down because they didn't like that this was right at the forefront of the game. It was so super complete and everything else was like falling apart. So they released an apology about 1 month later saying that they would actually scale back the cosmetic shop releases and focus on the stuff with the game. And then right after that, they released Blessings of the Omnissiah, which allows you to re-bless your weapon, saving blessings so you can put them on other weapons. You got a guaranteed weapon every time you completed a mission as opposed to randomly before. And they redid weekly quests. They put the armory in so you didn't have to hope and pray for weapons every hour anymore. All those things were as a result of the demands from the player base. And this continued over time. Like, certainly sometimes they did things like the power sword nerfs, where players were like, you motherfuckers, I can't believe you did this to us. But they also were doing things such as making account-bound currencies, making there be regional matchmaking servers, changing the way that blessings and perks were locked on weapons and curios, increasing the leveling speed. All this stuff was definitely player demanded, and it takes us through modern day where we have unlocked and loaded. I do not believe that we would have made it to unlocked and loaded if we as a player base had at any point said, this is good enough for us, and we'll settle for how the system is right now. Because this certainly was a lot of work for them to implement the crafting system and make it as good as it currently is, and we really appreciate that. And I think that they see that in their review scores and in the way that people talk in the comments. And this brings me to the point of today's video, which is, we got this new game mode, Havoc mode, with the recent update, and the biggest hurdle that Havoc is going to have to overcome is accessibility. I'm still seeing a ton of players who are saying, I'm not going to play this mode, it's just for try-hard elitists, there's nothing fun about it, it's just like extra hard version of the regular game, there's no additional, like, anything you get from playing it outside of a couple of cosmetic armors, what's the point? And a lot of that stuff I can totally agree with, and that is why I'm proposing that we bring back a game mode that has extremely low barrier to entry, and it's just fun for fun's sake. And that is the Chaos Waste game mode. So before I get started explaining exactly what Chaos Waste is and why it is so good if you don't already know, I just want to take this moment to say I'm super appreciative of everyone who has subbed me so far this year. We are very nearly at 10,000, and I'm really hoping that this video can be one of the last few that I make when I'm under 10K. I would love to see this video get popular because I want to use my channel as a platform for helping to direct conversation about Darktide in a way that betters it from a player's perspective, because I don't see enough discussions about the issues with the game and things that players really want outside of just some forum posts. So I'd love to be a voice for the people in that way. So if you agree with me on any regard here, or you just agree and like my advocacy for Darktide in general, I would really appreciate having your subscription, liking the video and sharing it, commenting. All those things also help the algorithm. If we can get this in front of Fat Shark, there is a non-zero chance that they hear our cries and add some of these features that players have been wanting for a long time. Anyway, I appreciate it, and let's talk about what makes Chaos Waste so dang good. Now, if you have never seen Chaos Waste before, let me give you a little bit of a rundown of how it is played. Chaos Waste is an alternate game mode in Vermintide 2, and in this game mode, you can actually progress your main character by getting loot through completing these little expeditions into the Chaos Waste, and so it's a great way to do some progression without playing the main game over and over and over again for 30 plus levels. And what you do is you jump into a game and you'll have this little map in front of you, and you choose which you just choose what's the little path you want to go to, and each one of these is a mini version of a level. Instead of playing a half-hour level, they're roughly like 10-minute levels or so. Depends on how long you take to clear it, but they're roughly 10 minutes if you're moving okay. And within those levels, you're going to have, let's enhance, you're going to have types of enemies that'll be present. You're going to have something that's going to help you out, which is less elites on this particular node. You're going to have something that's going to hurt you, which is more specials on this particular node. And then you're going to have a boon that you'll get for completing it. Because the whole idea with this game mode is to scale your power over time. You're right here at the start, and you need to make it all the way over here to the Citadel of Eternity and beat it. But if you had tried the Citadel of Eternity with the power level you have coming in here, you would be absolutely eviscerated. There is so much stuff. The amount of enemies coming at you at that point are simply ludicrous. So you need to scale your power by going through this map. And when you're in the maps, you can pick up blessings from a couple different things. The first way you'll pick up blessings within maps is through the Chest of Trials. The Chest of Trials, when you open it, when you begin trial, it spawns a juiced up boss monster or pack of elites. It can be really, really challenging depending on what it rolls and what your team's strengths are. The bosses spawn with these additional huge buffs on them that can regenerate all their HP or make them, hit super hard or become invulnerable for any period of time. It's actually pretty interesting. They're called grudge marks. And if you beat the boss, though, you do get access to a few boons, and these boons are available. This is one of the only couple times where you get to actually select your boon. By the way, this one right here, check this person should be choosing this one. That's the best one. This is one of the only a couple times where you actually get to select the boons. The other ways you can get boons are from, there are also shrines in the levels that award you a random boon for a pretty cheap cost, or you can save your currency, which is Pilgrim's coins. Let's see if it shows it here. These little blue tokens here, these are Pilgrim's coins, and they are an exclusive currency to this game mode. You pick them up, they're just hiding around the map in random places, the same way Plasteel and Diamantine are in regular Darktide, and they're also dropped by defeating boss monsters. So there's an encouragement to actually kill boss monsters and not just shove them off ledges and stuff where you can't get the coins. So when you've got these coins, you can go to the shop and you can purchase. You can see that same one showed he should be buying this one and not this. This is garbage. That's amazing. You can be purchasing these blessings, these targeted blessings, and you can build towards something that works together, that makes this build that kind of coheres. And sometimes, yeah, you'll get a build that kind of sucks, but a lot of times you'll get a build that really pops off, and all these blessings are working together in a really, really amazing way. So it is really, really cool to see your build develop over time. And the whole conceit behind this thing is that these 4 heroes, or 5, it doesn't matter, they are adventuring through the Chaos Waste, which is sort of an ever-shifting Zinchian sort of chaotic wasteland, you might say, with the intent of reaching the Citadel of Eternity and asking their gods for a boon to take on the upcoming cataclysm, I believe. But the plot doesn't matter in this sense. It is just fun for fun's sake, and it is a ton of fun. The other things that can happen in these levels is we've also got these little weapon upgrade altars. So you can choose these weapon upgrade altars that have the shape of the weapon on here, and it will replace your range weapon with a random range weapon of the same tier of rarity here. So the thing about Chaos Waste that makes it so accessible for new players is the only thing you bring into it is your level of your character. So as soon as you max out your level of your character, you've got everything that you need to play a game of Chaos Waste at the highest possible level. You can go in and you can Q1 up on Cataclysm, and you have the same power level as anybody else in the group, because your curios, or your curio equivalent, which is trinkets in that game, or your weapons and the blessings of your weapons are not considered. So you get to skip that whole grind of having to get perfect weapons. And I know a lot of players are held back or feel like they're being held back by perfecting their weapons before they can play Auric Damnation or play Havoc. And this completely skips that for you. So you can just get a random red weapon, or you can hit up one of these little lovely boys. Where is it? These forge ones. I wish it would show it. There it is. These ones with this little forge thing like this, and this will upgrade your weapon without randomizing what weapon you have. So if you had the dueling sword and you wanted to keep the dueling sword because it's the fucking dueling sword, you would totally choose this one because you don't want to risk randomizing and ending up with a chain axe instead. So that's pretty much everything that can happen in Chaos Waste. Let me show you how that stuff would relate to playing a game of Darktide with these same mechanics. So this is Vermintide 2, and these are all the terminologies and the ways that we implement things. So generally, Chaos Waste is like the place you're at. This is your location. In order to get from location to location on this little map that we had here, when you reach the end of a mission, you have a little portal area that Alicia, who's your like resident wizard or mage or whatever she's called, she's like a shadow mage, she can use that to teleport you, and then she teleports you to the next map. Makes perfect sense, right? It's magic, blah blah blah. Then you've got boons. Those are the little buffs that you pick up that make your character much stronger. You've also got the chest of trials, which I showed. That is the optional challenge. You can pass it by, but you'll miss out on a free boon that can be very strong. And then we've got shrines, which are the shops where you purchase things. Purchase more blessings or more things that help your team. You've got the weapon upgrade altars that can randomize which weapon you have or upgrade it directly to the higher tier of the same weapon. And you've got curses, which I neglected to mention, which is, you can see right here, this map is cursed by Tzeentch. And this means that this map is randomly going to have one of a couple of effects that's going to make it a harder map to play. Yeah, so like this one could have like lightning that gets called down on your location, because that's what Tzeentch loves to do. It can be very, very annoying, but the buffs for completing it, because it has extra healing items that might be good, and it has an extra 20% health if you complete it, which is very nice too. So this is what we call them in Vermintide, and here's how it would relate to Darktide. Instead of venturing in the Chaos Waste, we could venture into the Deep Hive. And the whole reason we would do this is perhaps maybe Alicia, what's her name? Commissar Duquesne, who just joined the ship, is demanding that the recruits who have reached at least level, I don't know, 10 or what, recruits who are too chicken shit for Havoc, they should be dropped into the Deep Hive to test their mettle, right? And the Deep Hive is an ever-shifting, you can't really tell where you're going because it's the Deep Hive. It's unmapped. You're going to be wandering around in the darkness down there, and you're wandering through ruins that are thousands of years old, basically, because they just build on top of all this shit. So the Deep Hive is equally as labyrinthine in some ways as the Chaos Waste, if a little bit less magical. Then in terms of getting from one locale within the Deep Hive to another, we could utilize the dropship the same way we extract from missions now. It doesn't have to make sense. It just needs to get us from one and offload us into the next zone. And the whole conceit could be that Commissar Duquesne won't let you come back until you've proven that you can deal with this many threat zones. Then for boons. So boons are an interesting thing because, again, you have to sort of suspend your disbelief in Vermintide 2 that they are mortals. I don't know if Corellian's immortal, but I think she is now, but she didn't used to be. But they're heroes. They're considered heroes, but they aren't very powerful. In the grand scheme of Darktide or the Warhammer universe, the fact that they can get boons directly from the gods is a little bit of fudgery in terms of how this is actually supposed to work, but they get them anyway. So yeah, whatever. And let's just suspend our disbelief a little bit and say that our rejects can inject ourselves with stims or equip certain gear that can make us gain all these crazy powers. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense that the veteran magically poops out a grenade every minute in the game we currently have. So let's just suspend our disbelief a little bit more for the sake of fun for the game. Then we've got the Chest of Trials. I like the idea of the Chest of Trials being a heretic contraband cache that you have to secure, but when you go to secure it, it spawns a big horde wave, or like, a captain boss or something comes down and tries to fuck with you. When you do secure it, Hallowett, or whoever on the ship mistress, whatever, they award you a blessing of your choice for securing that contraband for them. But again, it's optional. Then for the shrines, there are 3 different types of shrines that you can encounter here. There's like fortune, healing, and something else. Those affect the types of blessings that can appear on the left side here. That's not the right thing. Well, I wish I could find it again. But yeah, it affects the types of blessings that you'll see within these shrines. There it is. So these things over here are dependent on what shrine you're actually at. So we could have these 3 characters who offer vendor services be the 3 different owners of these shrines. And, they don't have to actually come down there. They're talking to you via communique, and then that stuff is drop shipped to you, so you can use it in your mission in the Deep Hive. And Melk would focus on like one type of thing. Hadron maybe has like gear upgrades or like things for your weapons, and then Hallowett has like maybe really expensive stuff that's also really rare. For weapon upgrades, I think this would be really simple. Instead of having these tacky looking little like shrines like this, you could just have little floating skull servitors that have will tell you like what rarity they'll be upgrading or what power level they'll be giving your weapon. And these are, just Hadron to sensor little servitors down there to help you out. You just have to pay a certain amount of the currency into them to make it go. And then finally, we've got the curses that we just talked about. The curses are the same thing as mutations, or it ultimately will be the same thing as the mutations that we see in Havoc, where instead of having that curse that here's a great example. In Vermintide 2, if you were cursed by corn, one of the things that could happen is you would get these corn enemies would have little bombs on their heads, and if you killed them, they would explode after a certain amount of time and deal a ton of damage if you were caught in the radius. That is the same thing pretty much as the acid that falls out of that one mutator, where it drops the acid all over the ground and you can't stand it or you get corrupted. So I'd love to see these sort of things being used to explain how this fits within the world of Darktide, because I know that's a big thing for Fat Shark, is like making it narratively make sense. The other really big thing, and the last big thing I'll be touching on, is how mechanically they would make this, because one of the biggest hurdles for making this game mode is this. These are the blessings. This is just the blue blessings. Then we have the orange blessings, and then we have the red blessings. This is not even considering things that you can get from what is it, like your weapons. Where is it? I can't even find it. Whatever, who cares? You can get like blessings with your weapons and stuff that are exclusive to this mode too, but all of these blessings, there are an absolute ton of them. And obviously roguelike game modes live and die based on how much variety they have in their blessings, and therefore how much replayability you have, how rare it is to get certain combinations. And yeah, this could be very, very daunting for Darktide's team to try and make all these blessings for Darktide. But hold on a second, they've already done the work. They made Chaos Waste. And what I did here is I went through the blue blessings and I highlighted in red the ones that can't be used, that wouldn't translate across to Darktide, because these are things where like passively regenerate 1 health every 5 seconds. That would be absolutely broken, beyond broken in Darktide, because your health is not the thing that you need to survive. It's like, yeah, it's completely protected. This was much, much more tame in Vermintide. Picking up ammunition grants 15 health. Pretty much everything with health here is something we can't use in the game. I also excluded this, like, your career skills calls down lightning on nearby enemies. I don't think that fits within the lore of the game, and there's also, as far as I know, you'd have to like make some art assets for lightning getting called down in Darktide. Inflicting poison, that's not something that's in the game, so let's just leave that out. You still got your career skill inflicts bleed on nearby enemies. Bleed is already a mechanic that's in the game. Inflicts burn on nearby enemies. Burn is already a mechanic that's in the game. Let's look up here. Each attack that doesn't cause a critical hit adds 5% critical chance to the next attack. These bonuses stack and reset after making a critical hit. That sounds really, really familiar, or it should if you're using Headhunter on any of the recon lasguns or any gun that supports it. It's the exact same blessing. We've also got stuff like, where's the one? Oh, down here. Okay, so bombs, instead of bombs, you will have grenades. Grenades, aka bombs, cause enemies hit to take 30% or 20% increased damage for 10 seconds, or increases their explosion radius by 50%, or 50% chance to not consume grenade on use. These are all tweaks and variations on things that we have in Darktide currently. And one thing that I thought was really interesting looking through this was right down here, support bomb, concentration. This makes it so that when you bomb, it consecrates the ground for 10 seconds on impact, and players within that consecrated ground gain 10 times career skill cooldown. So, or your ultimate cooldown. So if you had a frag grenade, right, you throw this frag grenade out and it leaves this little tiny area, because frag grenades only have a small area, and standing within that area makes you have 10 times cooldown. But if you happen to be a veteran who's running smoke grenade, which in normal gameplay would be terrible, but in this mode you're running smoke grenade, well, now you have a huge area where everyone in that area is not only covered by the smoke, but they're also getting 10 times of their ability cooldown back, and that could be obscenely powerful, that combination together. And then you've got other stuff like for 2 seconds after leaving invisibility, all attacks are automatically critical hits. This would be a huge boon to the invisibility users. Obviously, it's nothing for anybody else, but there's other ways of getting invisibility in this mode. But this would make Infiltrate very, very viable on Veteran, making him have those critical hits for those 2 seconds. All this stuff is very, very easily transferable over to Darktide, and I would love to, because this game mode is so loosey-goosey, it's just for fun. Like, there's no real, like, oh man, it's super competitive, see who can do it. It's completely random what you get, so it's okay if some of these are more powerful than others. It's okay if some of them are just absolutely broken. Players don't get to build the broken stuff. You get to build your base build, and you go in, and whatever you get, and it ends up being really, really fun when you do get lucky and get these super powerful stuff. And sometimes you'll get like this weird edge case build that is even more fun. And I just think it's such a purely fun mode on its own. Just to show you one more thing before we sign off here, which is the history of Vermintide 2. Just to reiterate why this would be an important thing, be a thing that would draw players to Darktide. This is the history of Vermintide 2, Fat Shark's previous game. This is launch. This is the Versus mode release, just like last month. This is when the game was free, right? This was when Darktide was about to release, so they made this game like $1 or free or something, so everyone was playing it. But right over here, the only other significant hump, this is Chaos Waste. And just to compare this to anything else that ever happened in its timeline, like Versus is obviously huge, and Chaos Waste drew more players than that. And the other really big, huge update that came to this game was the release of Beastmen, a whole nother enemy class or enemy race came to the game, and it completely changed the way the game is played. And that only drew 15k players, and the Chaos Waste drew 30k. Like, that's how impressively big this game mode was, and it still is. It has a really big player base. At least in the private servers and stuff. this is just such an accessible game mode, and it's just fun for fun's sake. I keep saying that, but it's not like Havoc where it requires you to complete something else to get into it. You can just hop right in and have a good time right from the get-go. You'll level up your character over time by playing it, so it's alternate progression, and it can be a thing where, like, yeah, I'm burnt out for playing the normal game mode. Let's just get silly with it. There is one other thing. Oh, that's not what I want. Vermintide. There we go. So one other thing is that, you know, maybe all this base stuff isn't enough. Well, fortunately, there are people who love the absolute shit out of this game mode, and they came up with Peregrinaje. I think that's how you say it. This is an extra challenging mode for Chaos Waste, and they added a ton more blessings and things that are custom for each class and a bunch of tweaks to the base game. And now this is a mod for Vermintide 2, and because it's a mod for Vermintide 2, Fat Shark, you own this content, right? I'm certain that the people who made this stuff are not going to say, you know, no, we won't let you use it. I mean, they couldn't even say that. They would be excited if you'd use this content, if you'd bring it into Darktide, and it is yours to use. You know, it's something that exists within your game, and I'm pretty certain there's something in the way that you create mods that says, yeah, this belongs to the owners of the copyright on the game. But it would be very, very cool to see some of the ideas that are in this game mode, because this game mode takes everything that's here and turns it up to like fucking 15 incorporated in. And again, I think that 2025 is a time where we make the game more accessible, where we bring something just legitimately just fun and rejuvenating to the game. I know that we are probably looking forward to seeing a new enemy being added to the game, and that will be entertaining for a while. I'd also love to see some tweaks to enemy AI and their behaviors, like we've been seeing with the strafing gunners. But this, above all else, Chaos Waste. I would love to see this added to the game. It would make me play double the hours that I have, and I would easily give you, you know, another 3 years of shilling your game on YouTube. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching. If you have not yet, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Mr. E out.